Whew. Extra late. Guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Wednesday edition, the first edition of A Flawed Man of God this week. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God, deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What we're here to do is talk about Christianity, make fun of the fact that I'm late, talk about different issues that come across, and give a Christian perspective to it. So what you see here is a little bit of influence on what it is like to be a Christian through my eyes. I'm a non-denominational Christian. Um, been one for 39 years, and yeah, these are my takes. This is my channel, and these are my takes. And it's good to be back after a bit of a long absence. So, if you're curious about Christianity, or if you're new to being a Christian or searching for God, welcome to the program. Please, by all means, ask questions, give us your thoughts. The chat is here and interested in hearing from you. They've got a lot of good advice. I've got whatever advice I can offer. Also, if you are interested in listening to Christian conversation, Christian takes, or whatever, that's great too. I want you to be here again. Go to the chat. This is kind of how we run things. It's very similar to a small group, and we're always looking to expand. So, nice to have everybody here. Sounds like we've got a lot of action going on. And so, where have I been? Which actually hasn't been all that long. It's going to be long coming up though. So, so Friday I went to a Baltimore Orioles game. There is they were playing the Oakland Athletics, and my father-in-law watches a lot of Orioles games. We live in the Richmond area. Masson is one of the local channel. They play. They air Nationals games. They air Orioles games. Well, he's getting back into baseball. Likes watching it. I like watching it with him. So he's been wanting to go up and see a game. Also, a kid from his hometown, Chad Pinder, plays for the Oakland A's. So they were coming into town, wanted to go see him, and it's a very small town. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows family. Everybody's like half related to each other there. But but he's one of a couple of or a few players from that town who has made it to the major leagues in some capacity or the other. But Chad Pinder has been able to stay up in the major leagues, not having the best year statistically, but he plays all over the field. So we went there to see him. He actually wasn't playing. Like I said, numbers haven't been all that great this year, but so we didn't get to see him. What we did see, what was really cool. So this is some geek stuff right here. The Orioles have the number one farm system in baseball right now. So they've got what they have is the best crop of prospects that baseball scouts generally have agreed on are in the Baltimore Orioles organization. So their number one prospect, who is the number two prospect overall in baseball, had his first game at home in Baltimore that Friday night. Gunnar Henderson. So we were sitting. My favorite place to sit when I'm in a ball game is behind a home plate to some extent. So we had some pretty decent seats. We were one section up from right behind home plate, and right in front of us, Gunnar Henderson's mother, father, brothers, sister, and girlfriend were in front of us. Anthony Santander's dad and mom, I'm assuming, Jorge Mateo's wife or girlfriend and kid were there, and some other family members. But it was really cool, just kind of being there in the presence of a family who's getting to see their kid make it into the major leagues for the first time. They weren't able. I don't think they were able to make the flight to Cleveland, where he had his first actual game, but they made it to the Friday night game there, and they were very quiet for the most part. They seemed to be, they were talking amongst themselves, but they weren't like they were really focusing on the game. So it's it was very cool to watch. And he had a great game, had 2 doubles, and it was interesting to watch. It's interesting to watch. So it's always good to see a family, see their kid. I think it's their oldest, you know, make it big. So hopefully the money doesn't change him. Hopefully he has a wonderful, long lasting career. The Orioles need that. And it was just an interesting tidbit to see. We went and got crab cakes because you're right there in the Inner Harbor, near the Inner Harbor. So it was the place to be. So let's get into the chat a bit, guys. Nernaev was first. Had to beat Nico. Have to go to church now. Thank Dresden comes on. Thank the Lord it's not Nico. Dresden coming in second. Nico coming in third. Oh, it's okay. Nico, it's okay. Second's just the first loser, which makes you the second loser. So you didn't even win at being a loser. Dresden, Nico, you dropped the ball again. You dropped the ball today. Nico says yes, fallen very far from grace. This is not the first time Nico has been second or third. We haven't seen Wild Weeb in a while, but and we miss him. But we miss him in the chat. Hopefully he's still viewing. And whatever's keeping him away is something good. We'll hope for that. But Wild Weeb has beaten him a couple of times in the past. Nico says Leighton Pagan, and then later on says it's hard, says I'm being harsh. Well, we'll see. So I guess you're trying to sober up from Labor Day. I didn't actually have that much to drink Labor Day. I really did not have like 2 beers, maybe. It's not much, and I'm not much of a beer drinker. I drink a Michelob Ultra if I'm going to drink a beer. I drink a malt cocktail, like, or whatever. The what do they call it? Daggone it, I can't think of the name of it now. Oh well. But yeah, no, not much on that end. Yesterday, I wanted to stream, but I didn't make it home until 9:30 at night, and I was like, nope, that's not happening. And today has been just been working a lot. We're working pretty hard, so I'm a little bit tired here, but it's good. It's good things. It's good to be busy. It's good to have things to do. Kids' first week of school is this week. Got to see them off to school. That's great. And I think that just having good things and bad things that happen in your life is always a good time to sit back and count your blessings. You'll normally see me talk about this a lot around Thanksgiving time, because I think Thanksgiving isn't a religious holiday. We're not celebrating any type of religious event. We're just talking about getting the family together and being thankful for what we have, which is something very wholesome to Christianity. Being thankful for what you have, the people around you, knowing that it is all by the blessings and grace of God that we have it, that we're here in existence at all. So the more distressed and depressed folks might think of that as a reason to hold God in contempt. But I think depression, especially when it's clinical chronic depression, is a sad thing, and it's not something I've necessarily really dealt with at all. But some people have just it's a fight for them. Other people, I think it's just a way for them because I think some people want to be upset. Like there is legitimate depression cases where it's a chemical imbalance. There's real trauma there going on, where it's just difficult to get out of that pit. Maybe even impossible in some way without the assistance of God. Other folks, I think, like to be unhappy. You ever meet anybody like that who just wants to be unhappy? I know that y'all probably all know one, and I think there might be a time in your life, I know there was for me, where you were a person who might have just wanted to be unhappy. I had a difficult we talk about kids at school, my kids going to school. Um, they're in, they're, they're in elementary school. Elementary school was fun, very fun for me with 2 very dark years in there, where I was just, uh misbehaving a lot. They were still trying to nail down my ADHD diagnosis. Not so much the diagnosis, but the treatment for it. Going to psychiatrists, testing out different medications. A lot of the medications they use are based off of medications they tried on me and other kids my age at that time. It was a case study at Virginia Commonwealth or Medical College of Virginia, actually. Um, and I would sit down, once a year or so in front of a class of college kids, studying to be in some sort of psychiatry or whatever, child psychiatry, and they would ask me questions about how I feel about different things, and ask me about my experiences, how do I interact with things. Um, but still, even though all that was going on, I was still having fun. It was really limited to school and the soccer field. Sometimes I would get in fights on the soccer field. Might have had an argument as an 8-year-old, might have had an argument with the ref once or twice or all the time. Might have had a couple of breakdowns. So it's fine. Nika Dresden first. Thanks for explaining. I don't understand American sports. Dresden, I don't know where you're at. Not trying to dox you or anything, but look, baseball is a sport, but watching it is a pastime. It's something that I like to do. I don't normally focus 100% on it. I'm usually doing something else. I have it on the background, or I'll look up and I'll watch a couple of plays or whatnot. I love it. I love baseball. It slows. If you are a person who is constantly harried, and you feel like, I think a lot of people have this problem but don't realize it. This is where I think the benefit of baseball or things like it, not necessarily a sport, but a hobby or some sort of pastime, we fill our schedules up and we stretch ourselves so thin and we're constantly going and we wonder why we're so stressed out. Parse down your hobbies, schedule your time. Try to plan your time out to give yourself some time to relax, unwind, and slow down. Baseball is a slow-paced sport. It's 9 innings. There is no time on it. They are timing it, but there's no time limit on it. You have 27 outs on each side, and however long it takes to get there, takes to get there. Pitcher takes time deciding his pitch. They do things in between the innings. It's a slow pace. Forces you to slow down, because if you can't slow down, you're never going to get behind baseball. Just it's too slow. They're trying to quicken the pace up a little bit, which they might need to in some cases, but the culture behind the baseball sport, and the premise behind it is a slow moving game. So I don't know. Obviously, that's not the case with football or soccer, as we call it up in the UK. I don't know if you're into that. Hockey is a sport I think they do up there. Y'all are pretty decent hockey fans up there. I'm a hockey fan, but again, another kind of fast-paced sport. Bro, you think baseball is slow? Try cricket. It takes days for matches to finish. No, I'm not watching cricket. I'm not watching cricket. It looks too weird. What is rounders? I've heard rounders described as people who go to baseball games from the UK. They call a game there's a game called rounders, apparently. I think tennis slows you down. Golf kind of slows down, but they've tried to speed that up. But no, I think that's important for all of us kind of to keep some mental sanity and some mental rest, is just relax. right? You don't have to wait until you get time for vacation to calm down. Get that part into a somewhat regular schedule where you're making time to slow down, sleep, whatever, read a book. Something I don't do. Saw this on Twitter. A guy was talking about how he didn't have enough time, and I was like, he didn't have enough time to game anymore. I'm like, all right, I got a full-time job. I've got 2 kids. I've got a wife. I've got a house, which always comes time-consuming things. You know, I do this stream for about an hour. Yes, Nico. But even when I even doing the stream for an hour, I still get about 2.5 hours of gaming in because I go to bed about midnight-ish. Depends. How about quit? Nico says, Stuart, how about quitting Twitter for mental health? Yes. I never should have gotten onto Twitter. I would love to leave Twitter. I do network a lot. In fact, the other Paul from YouTube of YouTube fame is a guy that I talk with sometimes on Twitter. He is going to be on the show tomorrow. He's going to be talking about basically his journey from Hillsong as a Christian and kind of introducing himself, because I'm going to have him as a somewhat regular guest on the program to come on and talk about different things. He's going to be talking about Reformed theology. Now, I'm going to give this as a full disclaimer. I'll do it tomorrow when he gets on the show. I'm not a big Calvinist guy. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm probably not going to be a subscriber. The only time I'll ever subscribe to it is if God says this is true. But I just can't get behind Calvinist theology. I'm not going to try to explain it to you guys because I'm not enough of an expert to tell you why. But he is going to discuss why he is, or what he takes away from Calvinism that he agrees with. What you'll see with the other Paul is he's got Eric's not getting replaced as a co-host. Eric's still coming on. We're going to talk about dinosaurs. But Paul's going to come on and his background is he was in Hillsong in Australia, so it's the Hillsong. So he's kind of got a firsthand account on what happened there and why, and give some reasons why he left and why he is where he is now. So, and I if you really want to get into the weeds and listen to somebody who's a lay person who goes and educates themselves actively, reading books and stuff like that, trying to dig in and understand things, the other Paul on YouTube's another great place. You're not going to get the same. His is more educational, where mine is more fellowship, right? I don't want to lose any of you guys. I mean, but if you get more out of Paul's stream, don't do it. So no, Nico, he's not. A bit like Dresden saying, Rounders is kind of like baseball, a bit like rugby versus football. From what I've seen, I probably would really enjoy rugby. I've stopped watching as much football because the NFL got dumb, and I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I'm watching Notre Dame. Ohio State beat them, and I hate Ohio State, so that wasn't very fun. That wasn't a very fun part of my weekend, but other stuff was great. Going to Baltimore. Camden Yards, look, Dresden, I don't know if you ever have plans or think you will find yourself in America for any reason, but if you come to America, one of the big hot spots is the capital, Washington, D.C. It's a cesspool, but they do have one really good attraction, and that is the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian museums around there, they some really good, just places to see. The Air and Space Museum, Natural History Museum, things like that. It's very cool. I need to take the kids there. I'll probably do it sometime on winter break. That'll probably be a good time to do it. Anyway, if you do it during baseball season, Baltimore, Camden Yards in Baltimore is not that far away. John Smoth flying in. Monergism is a better word for Calvinism. I'm a monergist, but I think it's much less central to the gospel than all the neo-Calvinists who say it is the gospel. Yeah, that's the one thing we run into. A lot of times you'll run into people, and this is another reason why I like the other Paul, because he talks about why he thinks it's right. He doesn't tell you, I'm right, you're wrong, and you're an idiot if you don't believe this. He's much more introspective and personal about himself. Um, but don't think he doesn't come correct with some sources and why he is. The John, John, I know you sound like you've got a decent enough handle on Calvinism. I know that there's a lot about Tulip that I agree with. It's the election. Like the election part that really stumps me, that I really can't get behind, the predestination. That whole philosophy. Like I said, I could be I am very open to being right, being wrong about this. But that's just my take on it. But thanks, John. Thanks for coming in on that. I'm not actually a soccer fan really all that much, Dresden, but if I am rooting for soccer, I'm an Arsenal fan. If I am watching, if my brother forces me to watch soccer, I'm an Arsenal fan. So, been one since forever, because I had a uncle who brought me a Arsenal pennant. And my soccer team was at the Arsenal soccer league when I was a kid. So just made sense. It was a cannon shooting the ball through a goal net. So anyway, so we talk about blessings, right? And we talk about down times when we're down. You guys might be in that place right now. You are definitely probably going to have a time in your future where you were down. And those can be times where it is difficult to get yourself out of the rut, to get yourself into a place where you feel like you're in a good place, and you feel normal, or at least you feel well. And that can, a lot of times you're down because you have a family member who is sick, dying, or has recently passed away. You have a pet for a long time that has passed away, and is no longer there. You were having relationship struggles. You were having marriage struggles. You were having, or you just, or stress at work, or maybe you just don't know why you're sad. And I'm not trying to, like, if you think it's something more than, you know, a phase issue, like you're just going through a phase of life, go get help. I'm weary of telling people they need to go to a psychiatrist or a therapist, because usually you end up talking to people who have their own problems and want you to have a problem and want to throw pills at you. But I don't know where to tell you to go, but try to get help. And lean on what family you have if you've got it. Lean on what friends you have if you have it. But maybe loneliness is another thing. You might be lonely. The loneliness thing, I normally the easy thing answer is find a church. Find a church with a good group of people your age. Or maybe you fit in in an age group older or younger than you. I don't know. I don't know how old you are as a listener. Find a place where you fit in and can learn fundamentals about the Bible that will reinforce those fundamentals, and that you guys can depend on each other. That helps with some of that loneliness. Reach out, be involved. It usually helps deal with that. And then a lot of times counting your blessings is about building momentum. What good things happened today? What good things have happened this week, this month? They might be small, minor things. Maybe somebody smiled at you. Maybe somebody, we were listening to, if you listen to Nick's streams at all, he was recently talking before the ban. He was talking about giving compliments to people or getting compliments, men getting compliments. I know that this is predominantly male audience in the chat, but any type of compliment is good, right? Maybe you wore something that made you feel good. Maybe you felt like you looked good in whatever outfit you were wearing. Better not be a furry costume, though. If it's a furry costume, rethink your life choices. But counting your blessings is a good thing, good way to build momentum and put you in a better headspace. It puts you in a better headspace for prayer too. And this is the real where it really affects why I'm talking about it on this stream is puts you in a good headspace for talking to God. It's okay to be frustrated or upset when you come to God in prayer. Right? He knows what's going on inside. Right? Sometimes it's just praying for release. Thanks, Brett Dresden. Yeah, I get that compliment somewhat often. I get that compliment somewhat often. So my chin is way down here. I don't have the best chin. But I was at Little Caesars the other day. And a guy came in randomly, just poked his head into because it's Little Caesars is usually in an outlet, small strip mall or whatever. He just comes in and goes, "Hey, sir." And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like thinking like, what's going on at my car or whatever, where I dropped my wallet. He goes, "Hey, sir, I just want to let you know, you got a great looking beard, man. I saw it from the back. I was sitting out there in the car and I saw you and I wanted to, it's like, man, this guy's got a great beard. I need to come and tell him." I don't think my beard is that great, but the fact that the man took time to get out of his car, come in there and say that to me, it was an elderly guy, not like too elderly, but like probably mid-60s. Just come in there, "Hey, nice beard. Thank you, sir. You have a nice day." Great attitude. Have a great attitude of things. But thanks, Dresden. Thanks. Nico says, yeah, how about Stuart trying to attract more female audience? Look, I am happy with the audience I have. Happy with the audience I have. You guys are great. The chat's great. From the big time contributors like you, Nico, to the guys who come in, most of the time like Dresden, and the folks who just swing in like John Smoth every once in a while with a hit comment and just and usually just I guess listen. But it was you guys are great. So I would love to have more of you guys in there every once in a while. The gals who are normally in here are mostly ladies I know. But there's a couple. There's a couple. So Dresden, I feel like Stuart needs an 18th century European officer's beard. I like what I've got. This is about, I'm getting close to a little bit, cutting it back a little bit. My wife will be angry with me for 2 days probably. It'll probably be a solid 2 days. She likes me having a full beard, which is so funny because she did not want me having a beard. Didn't think I was going to be able to handle a beard. But once I got it, wore it for about 6 months and then shaved it off, she goes, "You need to grow that back. Hide your face, husband." But she loves it, which is good because it makes me feel good because I've got something I'm able to provide to her, something that brings her joy, as opposed to aggravation, which is normally what I do purposefully. But I'm a pretty jovial person. It's difficult to get me really down, but I've had times where I've been down. Time I've been down the most recently was I lost my job in 2019. 2019. Veterans Day weekend, actually. I had left a job. I had left the job that I had been working at for 10 years. Loved what I did, but the company had a trajectory that I was nervous was not going to be uh, sustainable. Bit of a culture problem too. Um, just a very hostile work environment area. Nothing that you couldn't get past, but enough that it would scare a new person away. You kind of had to get used to it. And I was ready to take the next step. Well, the particular industry I was in um, does not have. It's kind of a small community. So unless had plenty of job offers, but it all required moving to St. Louis or Houston or uh, Delaware, Philadelphia, places like that. And no, my roots are here. My family's here. My church is here. My friends are here. And all of those are worth more than a fair amount of money that I was being offered. And doing something that I really wanted to do. But my career is second. My family is first. Now, God's first. But on this earth, the career takes a seat to my family. So that meant getting into a bigger part of logistics. Let's just say I'm in logistics, a bigger arena of logistics. And I took a job with a guy, and there were a lot of red flags. And I was headstrong, bound and determined to get out of where I was working and doing what I wanted to do. And so I ignored them, and it ended up being a disaster for me. The guy was an absolute lunatic in my mind. A lot of rumors that he was had a cocaine habit, and I mean, there was a lot of encounters where that made sense that I had with him, and just absolutely terrible leader. Did not know how to treat employees. Did not know how to lead people. He wanted his managers to set the company culture, which not a bad idea. But when you are in the office every single day, getting and micromanaging not just the managers, but the managers' people, you can't do that. If an involved owner has to set the culture, a manager set the culture when the owner has taken a step back. Comes in, handles like the high level business, talks to the employees, tries to talk them up or whatnot, but from a very high level, right? Lets the managers do what they want to do. Absolutely. So at that point, I got fed up. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do things my way. We had an argument, a very large one, and he fired me. So it was the first time since I was 16 or 17 that I didn't have a job. And it was weird. And I am the main income earner in my household. And that was a very scary place to be, right there next to Christmas. But where I was down, my wife was not. And she was very faithful to God, and she was holding me up in that regard and letting me know that she had my back. And if you want to talk, and if that, the few things that I can hand it on to, I was seeing my kids every day, which is always great, even though I really needed to be working. I did get to see the kids every day, and spend a lot of time with them. And my wife was being super supportive. I had I had a big thing weighing on me and a lot of stress because of that. And it wasn't easy to do. And a lot of times I didn't. But if you ask me to take a step back, count your blessings, I had blessings to count. And I think that most people Most people can do, when they're down, can do that, and it'll help bring them back up. Because a lot of times God gives us blessings that we don't take the time to appreciate. And we ask God, why is this thing not happening? Maybe this thing isn't happening the way you want, but look around you. Is anything happening? Is everything happening terribly for you? Probably not. If you're focused on one thing you want, or a couple of things you want, or where you need to be, stop. Look around. Take stock in what you have, and then refocus on what's important. Maybe what you are focused on is important. It is important to you. But maybe you need to step back and adjust your attitude and use your blessings as a way to adjust your attitude for it. Maybe you're trying too hard. Maybe you're not trying hard enough. Maybe you shouldn't be pursuing whatever goal that you're pursuing. Might not end well for you. Maybe God's given you a reason to shift, right? John says, I usually listen while putting the kids to bed, so commenting is usually a pain. No, I get that, especially if you're listening from a phone, right? I don't comment. Whenever I'm catching a live stream from Nick, which is really the only show on YouTube I really watch with regularity. If it's if he's doing his trial, something during the daytime where I'm awake for it, I don't get in that chat at all. Chatting, especially something that size, it's a pain. It was all the more reason why I appreciate you guys taking the time and effort to be part of the conversation. And that's a good thing here. Maybe if life was down for me, say maybe my kids were having all sorts of behavioral problems, or they were sick, or maybe if me and my wife were having problems, and maybe I'm having financial issues, all this other stuff going on. I'm still doing this for an hour, talking to people about God for an hour every day. It's awesome. It's awesome. This is a blessing to count. So, not giving you guys any homework or anything. That's not the point of this. But I would challenge you guys. Even if you're in a good place, look around. See if there's anything you are missing that is also bringing you joy and helping lift you up and putting you on a path closer to Christ. Because let me tell you something too. And this is something we talked about in our Sunday school this past weekend. We were talking about time management and what's really important. What's really important is doing the things that Jesus commanded us that are laid out in the New Testament, making sure that we're holding fast to the rules that God has set before us. But discipleship, service, stuff like that we're going out and promoting His word and doing what we can for other people. Not saying that the works this is not a works versus faith argument, but we are supposed to go out and help our fellow man if we're able to. So one of my friends who's in my class is he says, look, and because we were talking about busy schedules, another reason why I brought it up. He goes, look, there's a lot. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but most of the stuff that we think is important on our schedule is not important at all. Do our kids need to be in baseball? And I'm taking it off. This is not his quote, but this is me saying, do my kids need to go to baseball? Do my kids need to go to soccer? My kids starting soccer up too, by the way, guys. Do they need it? No. Do we need to schedule time to watch TV show? What X TV show that's out? No. Especially if it's Rings of Power. Do not watch that show. It's terrible. It's anti-Tolkien. It's awful. Don't watch it. It's poison. It's fantasy poison. Hate it. But do I need to go golf? Do I need to, do whatever? Do I need to make it to the gym? Yeah, it's good to keep your body in shape, but you think about what's important. What is important? Are you really doing all the things? Are we Daniel? Are we Daniel in the Old Testament, spending his time in prayer, making sure he's only eating the foods he's supposed to eat, standing up for what's right, putting himself out there? And this is the whole crux of it. If you do that, that doesn't mean this is not prosperity gospel is bullshit. If you are doing the right thing, if you look at the apostles, if you look at a lot of the early Christians, doesn't end well for them in the sense of uh, living happily ever after on this earth. One of the disciples lived to die of natural causes. He died in prison, and he spent a long time in prison. All right. The early church history is rife with martyrs and people who were permanently maimed. Right? How's it going, Porcupine? Permanently maimed. There's a lot of bad things. It's a lot of Job level suffering going on for people. Maybe take some joy in your suffering on that. If you're suffering in the name of Christ. You know, maybe you get maybe you're at work and you said something about Jesus and you got ridiculed by the fedora tipping actually atheist who's pedantic in all of his responses. Did you know that actually the earth is this way? Or did you know that evolution is this? Did you know that science guy Bill Nye said this? No. Okay, maybe you're laughed at. Maybe the whole office thinks you're a joke. My wife had a coworker like that. This is before my wife came to Christ. My wife had a coworker like that. Saw that she was working for the government, small local government, but you know, and she's a good gal, right? But and she's strong in her convictions as a Christian, and she wasn't afraid to talk to voice them, and she was ostracized for it. And she probably felt very lonely at work. She probably felt very picked on at work. And look, when you're in a bad when you're a bad environment at work, it's not a fun place to be, right? That's happening to you. You're being picked on because you had the courage and you had the tenacity to bring it up in the first place, right? People don't always like to hear that they're being held accountable for things. People don't always like to hear that somebody else, they might be wrong. And some people just look down on Christians. Who cares? Who cares? Whatever. You can find them all over Twitter. Bunch of cringy atheists. It's awful. Nico said, thank you, Stuart. Really needed this reminder. Nico, anytime. You let me know how that church thing goes for you. Especially if you are open to talking about it to the chat, I would highly encourage you to do so. Whenever you have any thoughts that you want to share on it. Count your blessings, Alpha Woman Galadriel, racial health, human couple, and of course the non-binary Sauron. I'm not watching the show, but from what I've heard, there's a lot that's wrong. There's a lot that's wrong. Also so here's the thing. All right. So any of you guys who are watching the Rings of Power or have watched the Rings of Power and don't know much about the Lord of the Rings Tolkien lore, the Galadriel is a major figure in the Second Age and the Third Age. Kind of a minor. She's talked about a few times in the First Age, right? And out of all the documentation we have on it, you know what she never does? She never fights. She's not a warrior. She's got great powers. difficult to put it. Think of it as like magical powers, similar to Gandalf, but it's mostly like area of effect. Like she protects the woods of her kingdom, right? By making it difficult to pass through. But she's not in any battles. She doesn't take anybody. She doesn't take on anybody one-on-one. Lots of other figures did. So that's your number one thing. Now, Elrond in her role, if it wasn't Galadriel, if it was Elrond instead, much more believable, much more appropriate. Elrond stayed fighting. So, John, I met my wife because I was an annoying Christian at work who always challenged the fedora tippers. Yeah, well, you can come off as a total Chad doing it too, especially if you're knowledgeable. I normally advise people, especially lay folks like myself, to avoid these conversations with those folks until they say something that you can speak very well on. The apologetics behind it, because they're going to throw at you all the dumb Dan Brown, science, Bill Nye, stupid stuff. Oh, Richard Dawkins talking points at you that are half truths or no truths presented as facts, opinions presented as facts, lack of information on something being evidence of absence. It's stupid. They're stupid arguments, and it's usually people who think that they're smarter than they actually are. It's absolute hubris. So, Nico, I've been tuning in online for the Lutheran churches you sent, and my first impression so far is many weird rituals. LOL. Well, look, this is what we were talking about. You kind of enjoy what you said is you enjoyed a lot of the Catholic trappings. The ornate, the ceremony, the seriousness, right? Of worship, which I have a lot of respect for that take. You see that in Orthodox, Lutheran, traditional Latin masses on the Catholic side. But you didn't like a lot of the dogma in Catholicism. So you're going to see things that are not, you're going to see things in Lutheranism that you're not going to see at a more contemporary Protestant non-denominational church. They are very loose on that side, on our, what I would say my side of non-denominational. Lutherans, very organized, very disciplined. There's litanies, there's rituals, like you said. If you like part of it, and part of the reason to go through it is ask them why they do it. And that's another thing. You want to, if you're going to a church like that, pastor or whoever it is that's supposed to be an authority figure better know the whys and the hows behind why we do the things that we do, right? So, yeah. And that sounds like, okay, so that sounds like you're coming from the same place. I absolutely love the music and stuff, but I guess it's weird because I don't understand the meanings behind them. That's what I'm saying. Find out what the meanings behind them. Does it make sense to you? Does it have some sort of scriptural basis? Or, some of this stuff has been done because it was something that early church fathers had set up. Find out. Look more into it. like I said, I'm going to have Remy Shepherd on here soon, and he's going to talk about Lutheranism. He's going to talk about some other stuff. He could probably ask when he's on here to talk about, I think the thing we're trying to meet up now is, can women and men be friends? Just a discussion. Do you throw some questions for him in the chat? So, yeah, Anglicanism is pretty good if you're looking for ancient tradition and liturgy as well. Yes, John, you have to be careful about, and it's the same thing with Lutheran churches, to a degree. Like an LM, like the Missouri Synod Lutherans are generally pretty based. Like they're pretty dependable that they're going to be following fundamentals. ELCA Lutherans, those folks are weird. They do all sorts of weird things. They have all sorts of weird beliefs, like very anti-biblical beliefs. And like, why do you even call yourselves Lutherans? The Anglicans have kind of the same culture going on. They have some Anglicans that are way off the map. And then you have and here's another guy I've been trying to, once he's finished doing some manuscript writing, a gentleman to come on. He's called he's based AF is what he said. Based Anglican fundamentalist. And he is a great writer. You can find him on Twitter. He does a lot of threads. I hate reading Twitter threads. I will read his. He is No Jesuit Tricks on Twitter. He is a piece of Southern Americana in many respects, and he is just a really good guy. Like, if you're looking for the wholesomeness that Twitter generally lacks as a rule, he's the exception to it. He's the exception to it. Thaddeus Patrick, who's been on the show, he's another example of that. There are cool people to follow on Christian Twitter. It's just, you got to find them. But you'll see, don't follow the big names. Don't follow the big personalities or whatnot. Just follow the guys who generally have something very insightful to say and something very compelling to say that's based in the word. And that's where you find your Thaddeus's. That's where you find your No Jesuit Tricks. That's where you find these folks. That's where you find your Remy Shepherds and your Hans Feeney's. They're good out there. So John says, Porcupine ELCA was weird even in the 90s. I think they've been weird since whenever they got formed. And it's just been, I'm pretty sure this lady who popped in and said, because we were having a discussion about what the Bible said, and she goes, you guys are really obsessed with the Bible. I worship the divine feminine. And I'm pretty sure that was an ELCA Lutheran talking, because it sounded like one. They talk about lesbian angels. They talk about they sexualize a lot of weird stuff that shouldn't be sexualized. It's terrible. John Smoth, totally the Episcopal Church, which I didn't know until recently was Anglican, was part of the Anglican Church. It was like, but I always thought the Episcopal Church was one of the same, or was just its own entity. The Episcopal Church in the U.S. and Canada is basically pagan garbage. If you look for Anglicans, look for something a part of the ACNA. Yes, the ACNA. That I don't know a whole lot about them, but yeah, based Anglican fundamentalists. I think that's what I've heard. Most of the folks who are Anglican that I enjoy reading what they have to say, they're in that ACNA group. So, yeah. Gross, Dresden. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that garbage. So, but yeah, like I said, we'll bring these folks on. No, it's not it's not. Don't know. Nico, repeat after me. Not today, Satan. Just because I brought up to you something that some weirdo does doesn't mean it's a good idea. All right. This is how Nephilim came about. But yeah, there's a lot of pagan stuff that's kind of gotten into that. And this is what do we say? Anglicans, there are good, based in the word, fundamentally sound Christian Anglicans. Same thing for Lutherans. Same things for Catholics. Same things for the Orthodox. Same things for non-denominational. Same things for Baptists. Same things for all those folks. We all struggle fighting modernists. And they're out there. And they try to make things sound, well, in today's society, in current year, we live in a society. And this is how we need to apply the Bible for modern times. And usually that's the introduction to why we need to modernize. No, we need to stop. Society is going to rub against God's commands to us and what is wholesome. They're going to push those boundaries. They're going to break those boundaries. They're going to go off and do their own thing. We as Christians are not beholden to whatever societal norms there are. It does not matter what is normal in society. What matters is what's normal and wholesome in God's eyes. And if we're the weirdos, then we're the weirdos. But at our core, because we are made in God's image, we seek that righteousness. So if we are an example, if we don't give in to societal norms and pressures for all the folks out there with their weird Twitter handles and their stupid theologies to talk about all this stuff, deconstructing and all the weird stuff, all the weird. We need to your egalitarianism, these kind of things that they want because it makes them feel better. It makes the people that are not quite there yet in Christianity, and a couple of things are holding them up because they don't want to give them this sinful ideal up. They just, well, it's probably okay anyway. They'll probably still get into heaven. Stop being a universalist on this, because that doesn't help. Okay, because it's probably wrong. You tell them this is what the expectation is. This is what we need to do. This is what we believe. This is our faith. You don't have to always be on your A game and do the right thing all the time. But you better know the difference between right and wrong, and you better be trying to get there. Getting on the right, doing the right thing. Because if you said, nope, this is who I am, God's going to have to deal with it. He's going to deal with it. And I don't want anybody I care about. I don't want people I don't care about to get into that situation where they're standing before God and all of a sudden it's like, he's like, I wanted you to be part of this. I wanted you to. I wanted you to want to be part of this, but you don't want to be a part of this. So now, here's the bad news. You were hurt. You were told about the good news. You didn't want it. So here's the bad news. All right. Well, that's a dreary way for me to end this topic when we were supposed to be talking about counting your blessings. Look, again, I'll close with this. I really want you guys, if y'all are hurting, to look for positive points in your life. The Bible, maybe this stream, something going on in your personal, something positive in your personal life. Hold on to it, right? Focus on it. Don't smother it. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't try to force it, but just look at it and be like, that's something good. That's something good that's around me. Use it. Use it for yourself. Talk about it in your prayers. Talk about it in your prayers to God. God, I'm hurting right now. I'm struggling. But thank you for this. Thank you for sending Jesus. Thank you that even though my life might suck, maybe I live 80 years of misery. I get an eternity in paradise because of Jesus. This too shall pass. Right? Nothing new under the sun. Anything you've gone through, someone else has gone through it. You can get through it. It's temporary. Heaven is eternal. God is eternal. Your salvation is eternal. Get there. And if you're in a good season right now in your life, again, don't take it for granted. And make sure to be grateful for it. And do what you can to be the good piece of wholesomeness that other people can point to. Don't be like me. Don't be like me on the internet where I'm an ass most of the time. Be good. Be better. Be better than me. Porcupine, sounds like the meme I saw today. Good people don't go to heaven, Christians do. Yeah, the atheists think that's an own. They think that's an own. Like they think that, oh, Christians are good people. Yeah, we're bad people. We legitimately are often bad people. We do bad things. We sin. We do all this stuff. But no, being a good person doesn't get you into heaven. The idea, well, he's a good person. No, being a Christian is what gives you in heaven. It's not the own you think it is, atheists. So, but yeah, I saw that one too, Porcupine, and it's a normal saying. I mean, it's not an uncommon turn of phrase. All right, so tomorrow night, the other Paul, we're going to do it at 8 our time, whatever time. He says he lives in Australia. We all know that Australia is fake, so whatever time he thinks it is, or he says it is on his side, we'll do it. We're doing it then, but it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight or tomorrow. We're going to be kind of hearing his testimony, getting the other Paul's story. We all have a way. We all have a way we came to Christ. Sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's compelling. I think he's been a lot of places in his life that he's got something cool to tell. And like I said, we're going to have him on to talk about more things. Where else? What else? Friday, I will not be streaming. Next week, I will not be streaming. I've got things I've got to do. I might stream. Next Friday, I might be able to stream. Next Friday, I might be able to stream. We'll do another relaxed stream. And then the following week, we're going to start on Ruth. Be on the Ruth. All right. So with that said, everybody, I hope you had a good time. I haven't done my normal good thank yous. Nernaeth, who is no longer here, he is at church. Amen. Dresden, Nico, me in the chat, telling everybody I was going to be late. John Smoth, Porcupine. I think that's the group. The cuck atheists. Christians suck. Chad Christian, yes. But all you guys, thank you for being part of the chat. Thank you for contributing, and hopefully you got something good out of this. I think y'all did, and see you tomorrow. All right, peace out. Have a good night, and God bless.